Now today we are going to deep dive into the landlord dilemma. We're going to talk about cash for keys. We're going to talk about the landlord versus the tenants. And we actually have one of our guests that is pro-tenant and one of our guests that is pro-landlord. So let's see what they have to say today. Shall we get started?
Yes, we shall.
Okay.
So Falesha, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey ladies, so my name, as you know, Falesha Racquel, and I'm an international real estate broker. I'm a business coach as well. I'm an investor. I have many properties worldwide. I help people really either start their business or grow their business so it's scalable. And I also help Canadians and Americans just like live out their dream of living internationally. So we just recently launched and opened up Jamaica, which I'm so passionate about because I'm half Jamaican. Shout out to my Jamaicans. We're going to be also in third quarter this year, we're going to be in Europe, and I'm going to be leaving for the Philippines in the coming days. So we are busy over here. So anyone about, looking at international properties, I am your lady. Our team is
We'll
here.
get into the Philippines later.
Oh,
so
yeah.
we'll have that discussion.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Let's go. Mabuhay.
And Morlan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so Morlan Allen, I am the international business consultant working with Falesha Racquel. I am also a licensed insurance professional as well. So I'm really working to build and really just to help the brokerage in finding opportunities to connect with people that are looking for investment opportunities and just ways to really help and support our community as well.
All right.
Okay, that's amazing.
Okay.
All right. So I have lots of questions to ask about the landlord and tenants. And let's get started. So my first question is, do you think tenant protection laws have gone too far, making it unfair for landlords? Why or why not? So we're going to start with you, Morlan.
Oh, myself. I always say ladies first, but
All right. So let Falesha answer that.
Let's start with Falesha.
Yes, to answer your question, so do I think that the laws have gone too far? I think absolutely. I think landlords do a great job here trying to just stay above water. They get their first property and they're happy, and then they buy another one, and then they have this investment property, and then they open up their home to somebody who is going to be living in that property. Now, when somebody moves in and they don't care for the property anymore or whatever, there's a conflict and that person now has to vacate. I feel like the government has done such a horrible job in this system, to be quite frank, and these are all personal opinions. I'm a little bit biased as well because I am a landlord and I have gone through, certain dilemmas myself, as you like to said in the beginning, dilemmas. And so, I feel like you need to come to an agreement with the tenant, and when it's time to vacate and leave, just leave and find something else. And I feel like right now the system has just gone so hard on landlords. You're seeing the stories. People are living in their cars, they're losing their houses, they're fighting with their families because of this issue. So to answer your question, I totally believe they've gone too far. Yes.
Yeah, and I noticed a lot of the tenants, they're taking it upon themselves to become landlords themselves by subleasing what they've already agreed to pay. Yeah. So I know you saw the story, I forget the lady's name, where she tried to get the tenant out of the home, but the tenant ended up renting it to or subleasing it to another tenant.
Yeah, exactly. It's awful. It's really awful.
Morlan.
yes.
What would you have to say about this?
Well, I honestly think that, tenants do have the right to be able to have a place that they can call home, that's safe, that they can live in. And I think that they do have, they're the ones that's paying the rent to stay there, right? The lease and so forth. So I think they do need to be represented and they do need to have a voice as well. And so when it comes to the laws, I think that it's important for them to know that there's some type of security, or at least there's some form of support that's in place to help them to mitigate certain challenges that may become, that may arise with the landlords as well. So being able to get access to those supports and to those laws to be able to, fight for them, basically, I think it's really important. And for them to not necessarily be out of a place that they call home right away. They have opportunities to negotiate certain terms and agreements. I think that's really, really important. I do think that some of them take it a little bit too far sometimes. So I can agree to a certain extent, but I think it's important for those laws to be in place to be able to protect those renters.
And in your experience, and anyone can answer this question, and in your experience, do most non-paying tenants genuinely face hardship, or do they take advantage of the system?
Ooh, 100%. I feel like you have these professional criminals now, is how I'm going to kind of call them, right?
Okay, yeah.
You will, and I see them, and I can kind of, and I've been in situations where they will actually tell me their plan and what they're doing, because sometimes they will come as an actual client and they're trying to find another place, and I'll ask them, what is happening with the place they're in right now? And they will fully disclose, I haven't paid my rent for like 6 to 8 months. And I'm like, but you're working. They're like, yeah, but I'm not on good terms with my landlord. And so when I hear that from that perspective, then and these situations, unfortunately, are happening more often than not, right? So as a realtor, I'm seeing this trend. And what happens is sometimes, I understand, like, hardship is there. Like, we live in an economy right now where it's very expensive, right?
Yes.
Like, you go out and you go buy bread, eggs, and milk, and you're spending $100. Like, what is this, right?
Yes.
But there comes a point where you just need to be a good person and talk. Like, communication is key.
100%.
Talk to your landlord and just say, hey, like, I'm really going through something right now. I'm going to get the rent to you. I promise. Like, this is just what I'm facing. And your landlord is going to want to work with you. You know, like, if you just... I don't believe in, now there's this whole thing with landlords being crazy. Oh, my crazy landlord. It's kind of like that thing like crazy girlfriend, right? You push someone to get into that mind state to be crazy. What made your landlord do the things that they're allegedly doing? Like, how far did you just push them? How many months have you not paid for the rent? Now they're in the negative with the bank, right? Remember, they have to pay a mortgage. And if they don't pay the mortgage, guess what? They're going to get a power of sale and lose their home. They're going to lose that investment. So it all goes back to just, communicate, make sure that if you are going through the hardships, you just express that to your landlord and they'll work with you. But don't take advantage and not pay for months upon months and then expect for you to get some reward in the end or get, all the privileges and then be so entitled. That's the problem with our system right now. The entitlement is just insane. Yeah. And as you can see, like, I'm passionate about it. It just bothers me because unfortunately, I've helped a lot of landlords sell properties that I couldn't afford anymore because their tenants were just driving them into the red.
And Morlan, what do you think about that? What is your rebuttal against that? Since you're so pro-tenant.
He's going to come to the other side by the end of the show. Come over here.
I might swing a little bit and come back.
Yeah.
Well, in this case, I do agree that there are people out there that will take advantage. Do I think that most non-paying tenants are doing that? No. I think that they're probably I don't want to throw out percentages, but I'm going to assume that there's a percentage of people that genuinely do feel and experience financial hardship. But as Falesha said, communicate. In everything. If they can communicate, then they can find solutions to those challenges that they're facing and maybe get a little bit more time. But definitely there are people out there that take advantage, and those are the people that we don't necessarily want to engage with because they're not honest, right? And as Falesha said, landlords, they're working hard to sustain those properties and to keep them. And on the back end, what the tenants don't necessarily see is all of the back and forth that they have to do in order to keep that property. So for them to negate on their rent and not necessarily take care of that, then I think that's really disrespectful. And if they have genuine concern, then absolutely voice that.
Now, just going off topic a little bit, Falesha, this question's for you. I've heard stories that tenants or landlords are taking the money that they receive from rent from one property, and because they're behind in the second property, taking it and pulling it over to that one, right? So now these tenants don't know what's going on with their property, and all of a sudden someone's knocking on their door saying, okay, you need to start paying me the money because I'm in charge now. What do you think about a situation like that?
So the person, let me just get clarity, the person that's coming on board, knocking on the door and saying, I'm in charge now. Who is that person? Is that a lender? Is it a property manager? Who is that person?
It's normally a property manager on behalf of a lender.
On behalf of a lender.
Yeah.
So that means so if someone's coming in, as a representative of the lender, that means that home now is potentially going to power of sale. That's where we're at, right? Yes. So
and that's because the landlord did not take the funds and allocated to that particular property. They took the money and allocated to another property, which maybe they probably fell behind on that one or their principal home, right? So in a situation like that, how would you deal with it?
See, so you know what? And it all goes back again to the overall spectrum of the economy where we're at right now. Look, interest rates, even though right now they've dropped a little bit, we're at 3%, right? Last year, it was tough. 2024, most can agree. It's been a very the past 24 months has been like insanely hard it's been like really nuts for business owners and also for landlords, right? Yes. Everyone's just trying to, get by. They're trying to survive. Everyone's in survival mode right now here in Ontario. Everyone's just trying to, get groceries on their tables, and they're just trying to pay their mortgage, right? So when something like that happens, I think it's best and this is just going to be some advice. I'm speaking directly to landlords right now. If this is you and you're listening to this, go and seek some legal advice. Get a lawyer. They can jump on the phone, call the lender, express to the lender, hey, you know what? Like, the owner is going through some financial hardship right now. We don't want to have a power of sale. Let's extend the time, right? We are going to, bring the mortgage back up to great standing. This is a situation. The owner owns, 1, 2, 3 properties, and they're just really trying to balance the numbers right now, but we just need a little bit of time. Yes. Let's try to mitigate the risk of somebody knocking on the door and embarrassing the landlord, right? Because that's what's happening. And then when that happens, guess what? Now the tenants feel like, oh, wow, I'm in their business, right? Like, I know what's going on. Let me throw some shade at them and like now disrespect them, right? Because they feel like they have the power to kind of to be disrespectful because they know your business. Like, oh, I'm paying you the rent, but you're not paying it to the mortgage company, right? So let's mitigate that risk so people are not in your business. At the end of the day, you owning a property, this is your business, right? Like, as a landlord, you're in the business of real estate right now. So I feel like if it does get to that point, that means that the landlord isn't doing what they need to do to protect their business and to protect their intellectual property and all of that stuff that comes with running a business. So best advice, you can speak to lawyers and solicitors that are not going to charge you an arm and a leg. Just have somebody in your corner. There's a lot of great professionals in our community that will be more than willing to help you. They know what's going on, and get them to just write a letter to your tenants, be your backbone. If you go to battle, I always say you want to be strapped up. Yes. You want to be ready for war type thing.
100%.
If you're in business, you need to have these people in your corner.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. The next question is going to be, do you believe the eviction process should be sped up, or is the current system necessary to protect tenants from unjust removal?
I will go first. Yeah, so I think that the current system is enough. I don't think it should be sped up. As we mentioned before, a lot of people are experiencing financial hardship and financial challenges as a result of higher costs of living and things like that. So I think that having more time to prepare themselves to be able to vacate a property would allow them to make necessary arrangements, right, to be able to get out on time and to do it safely, right? Because some people might be evicted and then they have to leave right away and they're on the street, right? And that's posing a risk now to their health, their well-being, and so forth. And sometimes, individuals may not have the provisions right away to get access to a place to go to or get the help or the resources and support. So I think that, having it, allowing them more time would probably be better.
Okay.
Falesha.
I'm going to have to totally disagree with that. Listen, you know what? And it's not that I'm not against tenants. Look, I grew up very unfortunate. I lived in a 1-bedroom apartment, at Jana Woolner. Shout out, Jana Woolner. Hard times, the ghetto, some people call it. My mom was a single mom. My mom was a tenant. Like, she was paying rent. Like, this is where I've come from, and it was very, very tough. But I have to say that we have to understand the world that we live in right now. Giving more time, like I've heard 6 months, 8 months, and tenants are still trying to find a place and get out. Guess what? The landlord doesn't have that time, Morlan. They don't have that time. They got to pay that mortgage, right? Yeah. So I'm thinking my foundation is respect and communication. Like, if we have that there and we lead with love, like, everything will work out. So if, the landlord, whoever says, hey, like, I need you to go, like, family's moving in, or I need to take my place back, or vice versa. The tenant's like, hey, I'm going to go. I need a bigger spot, right? And they give that 60 days, and that 60 days you promise to leave. Leave in 60 days. Don't make us go crazy and go nuts and do all sorts of things to try and get our property back. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
Like, that's why, I do have some properties internationally, and I have to say, like, not that I'm, I'm not pro gun violence or anything like that, but in Michigan and in Florida, like, these are carrying states. When someone says that they're gonna leave, like, most of the times they go, like, they leave because they have this fear, like, how crazy is this landlord gonna be? Not promoting that stuff, but just saying that at the end of the day, like, if you're agreeing to something, you're agreeing to leave, you want to make sure as a tenant that you actually leave, because there's circumstances that may be beyond the control of the landlord, and they're trying to mitigate things from happening, and you need to respect that time frame. I think giving too much time to a tenant is just that's why we're in this whole mess right now.
Yes.
Right.
That's
why
how they take advantage.
That's how we take advantage, right?
True.
And I just want to stress again, I'm not saying pro gun, anything like that, anything like, I don't want us to be canceled in any way. That's not what I'm saying. Like, I'm just saying that whenever we make promises from a tenant perspective or a landlord perspective, we need to be binded by that and actually respect that and move forward with it. Now, we can go on and on about, how long should that person have to leave and all of that stuff. But essentially, I think 60 days is enough. 60 days is enough. There's landlords that would love to have you as a tenant, because guess what? You're contributing to paying the mortgage as long as you're actually good. As long as you're going to pay and you're going to be a respectful tenant. You're not going to be, a nuisance in the property. So I think if we really start to slowly, we can start to change the way we've been doing things by just like one landlord and one tenant at a time. Just being a respectful tenant and doing the things we're supposed to do and upholding all the responsibilities, and vice versa as a landlord. We don't want to be called crazy and deemed as, this scary landlord and all that stuff. No, we just want the mortgage to be paid, help out a little bit, and respect the home. Yeah. It's simple.
Yeah. Respect.
It's simple.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So if you were a small landlord and your tenant wasn't paying rent,
Ooh.
how would you handle it, Marlon?
How would you handle this?
and wait out the legal process and try other methods. Right? So what would you do?
What would I do? Definitely communicate. I would communicate with them. If they're still not paying it, then I would try to find some type of program out there to help them, maybe to transition into a temporary housing situation outside of that, and finding different types of resources in the community that might be able to help them to get a place. If it's really for me, I think that I would like to be in a position where I'd have great communication and conversations and a rapport with the tenants, right, as a landlord. So I would hope that we can communicate and find strategies that can help them.
But their hands are tied, Morlan.
If their hands are tied.
Their hands are tied. They just lost their job.
Yeah.
Right?
They just lost it. Well, see, the thing is, as a landlord, I think it's really important that when we set the amount that we're going to be charging for rent or lease, that we set it with the expectation that we're going to be building up a reserve, something that can help us to carry either any type of unforeseen expenses or even late payments and so forth, right? If I would give them 30, 60 days, depending on what my cash flow situation looks like. If I'm unable to carry it, then I would definitely seek a legal route in order to start that process to get them out after 60 days.
But not based on today's system.
Yeah.
So
We're talking about today's system. How long is it taking you before you get to court? Just to get to court.
6 months, 8 months.
Yeah.
And then after
so let's talk about, let's forget about the 30 and 60 days. Let's talk about real time, like what's happening in today in Canada.
And is it really feasible to tell someone to save up emergency expense for 6 to 8 months plus whatever else they have to cover?
Like it's unrealistic.
Yeah.
It is
unrealistic.
Yeah.
You're going to put yourself more in the negative. Like, do you know how many landlords right now, rather, have literally had to go and get lines of credits and apply to take a second mortgage out just to offset the cost that they're in the negative? Yeah. Like, I've done some things as a landlord that, hey, I am not really proud of, but I had to thug it out and do what I had to do. You know what I'm saying? And like, at the end of the day, like, I would like to say I'm you sisters, you know me, like I try to be as transparent and respectful as possible, but some of these tenants have literally pushed people like me to just bring out a beast that I didn't even really know existed, and I had to make sure that I can protect my family, the home, my investment. So if people are not paying, I would have to there's one particular incident, I had to make sure that I had to take things into my own matter, if you will, right? Because I had one in my own hands, really what it was. I really had to put it, I did it with my own hands. That's what I did. I did it with my own hands, Morlan. You know what I'm saying? I had to go in there, like this person was not paying. I gave notices upon notices. I ended up applying to the, LTB. It didn't fall under LTB. It was not RTA matter. So, these things, they were saying, oh, this is a civil matter. They kept calling the police. Oh, my landlord's crazy. No, your landlord is not crazy. You just haven't paid for like half a year. So we need to figure this out because they're saying, we're not going to get in front of a tribunal by X amount of days or months rather, right? And it was just not going to work for me. Yeah. So I had to do some things to get that person out. And I know a lot of landlords listening to this is probably like, sister, I agree. I had to do the same thing because it's, 2020, I would say 2022, 3, and even like 4. And even right now, people are going through it. I know they're going through it, right? Yes. They have tenants right now. They're not paying. They're losing money. They're stressed. They don't have money for lawyers. They're fighting with their spouses because the spouse is like, I told you so. There's blame being thrown back and forth, right? So sometimes you're just going to have to do something that you never done to get something you never had. This is something that I say. And if you want your property back, you're just going to have to sometimes you have to weigh the risk. Like, okay, if I remove their stuff and I put it in a storage or something like that, and I pay for the storage and I try to help them get another property because I need my place back, what is the risk factors in that and me doing that? What's going to happen? Am I going to get sued? And how much is that going to be? And you're going to have to weigh those options, right? That might be something you have to do. Or you can just tell that party, I know you're having a hard time. Let me pay for your first and last month. Let me give you, 3 or 4 months up front and see if that's something that you can come to terms with. Now, a lot of tenants, they're going to try to go out and try to get everything, your arms, your legs, they want your firstborn. Like,
they want land.
They want everything,
They want
right?
land. They want a house.
But you need to just do what's best for you. Every situation is going to be different depending on who it is you're dealing with as a tenant.
I know. Yeah.
Right? But I'm just full disclosure telling you, like, I've been in there and we're in the trenches right now, landlords, and I'm here with you. Like, it is very, very hard. And I'm sorry that you're going through this, but I'm hoping that with change of leadership, things will get better, which we're rooting for soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And Morlan, this question's more for you. With what strategies can small landlords use to manage their cash flow when dealing with a non-paying tenant?
We talked a little bit about some of the strategies. Unfortunately, the line of credits and using credit cards and things like that is not the ideal way to go. Yeah. But unfortunately, a lot of landlords having to look at those strategies and those types of tools to use. I'm always advocating for having emergency funds and things like that, but those do run out after a period of time.
So you do believe in emergency funds?
I do believe in emergency funds.
Okay.
Absolutely. 1,000%. Not just landlords, not just tenants. I believe everyone should have an emergency fund because you just never know.
Yep.
But essentially, those are some of the things that I think, in terms of strategies, having someone to manage your money and to also invest money when they're coming in, because when times are good and money is being invested, you can also get your money working harder for you than you're working for it. And as a result of that, you can also now end up in a position where you can have more in the end because your money is having babies, so to speak, right? And after time, those babies mature and, you have access to more funds that you can use as other capital or to be able to help with certain situations. But I would like to hear what Falesha has to say.
I'd like to hear what she has to say. Because I see her head nodding like this, like, okay, I'm hearing you. Yeah, okay, but no, I'm not agreeing with you right now.
Oh, gosh, it's all love, brother. It's all love over here. You know I got you, brother. So for me, managing cash flow, I think, definitely having an Excel spreadsheet with your property and all the expenses that you have on it, writing all that down. Right now, if you are a landlord here, it's going to be, I know a lot of you can agree, you're not making cash flow, really. You're banking on the appreciation and you're banking on the equity as well. So who are we fooling right now, right? You're probably negative a little bit, from $100 upward of like $1,000 right now, depending on the property. Condos are not making cash flow right now. We all know this. A lot of them are sitting vacant. So if you do have a multi-unit property, let's say you have like a detached, it doesn't even have to be detached. Let's say like a semi-detached townhouse or something that has like 3 bedrooms upstairs, 2 bedrooms downstairs. You might be able to cash flow a little bit there because you're probably renting it out per room right now. Most people are staying away from just renting out. And that's another thing that we need to really understand is the fact that we're not really renting it out to just regular people anymore. A lot of people are going into the 475,000 immigrants that came in 2024. That's statistically proven, right? So they're going more to immigrants right now. Right? Because they're like, ooh, I don't really want to fall under this LTB matter and RTA and the laws and comply with that. So landlords are really now, they've changed up their strategy and they've now opened up their rentals to people who are just on a PR. They're not even landed. So that's really what's happening to mitigate the risk so they can help manage their cash flow. Right. So that's what's happening. So I'm sure you've seen the stories of like 20 people in Brampton all squished into like, a 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom. Yeah. You don't get carried away. Don't go crazy like that. I mean, you can still do this respectfully. I think like having, like 2 people to a room is okay. Make sure that you're still complying with the fire code because you don't want something to happen and you're putting their lives at risk, right? And I think a lot of people are doing this right now because the mortgages are so high. Yes. So if you really think about if you're getting even $1,000 per room, I know it sounds crazy. I've seen ads on Kijiji of like $1,500 a room and you're literally sharing a bed. But people are doing whatever they can right now to help manage that cash flow. And that's literally, guys, what it looks like right now. That is the reality of being a landlord right now in Ontario.
Good point.
Yeah. So we're actually going to move on the topic of cash for keys.
Oh, yuck. Yuck.
Okay. Right? And for those that don't know, cash for keys is when a tenant basically says, okay, I'll move out of your house, but you got to pay me for those keys.
Yeah.
So and then they fire back at you and want more after you agree to it.
Oh, they want a deposit for that house.
Yeah. So we're going to get into those topics right now. My first question is, do you see cash for keys as a smart business move, or does it set a dangerous precedent for landlords?
I know someone who was in a situation similar to this recently.
Okay.
And it didn't end very well for them.
And just make sure I'm clarifying. You know someone that was the tenant or the landlord?
That was the tenant.
Okay.
Yes. They're in a situation where, as you mentioned before, the landlords were receiving rent or the lease payments, and they were not contributing it to the mortgage.
Oh, really?
For that house.
Okay.
They, I guess they left the country and was doing something somewhere else. And so they were in a situation where now the house became into a power of sale situation. And the tenants were not aware of that until it became to that point. And once they realized that, they said, well, we've been paying for all these months, right? What's going on? So they wanted to negotiate for cash for keys. And so in the end, it didn't end with the outcome that they were looking for. They still had to vacate. But, my perspective, I think it's a smart business move.
Really?
I think it's a smart
From a tenant perspective?
From a tenant perspective.
A lot of mercy.
And I'm just playing the advocate on the other side, right?
She had to lean over and say, "What? From a tenant perspective?"
I know, right? By the end of this episode, I'm sure I'll probably be on the other side. But for
You're
now,
gonna be walking home tonight.
Killing me over here. What are you promoting? Oh my gosh.
we're just having a little fun, but making, it's a very important topic.
It is very important.
Very heavy topic.
Yes.
So, we're trying to make it as light as we can, but still keeping it as respectful because we know that these are real situations. That
of course.
Right? So in terms of that, I will just say the reason I stated that it might be a smart business move is just because, sometimes we heard of stories where the landlords are either mistreating or putting certain unfair requirements on the tenants. And so for tenants to be able to make changes to get out of the property or to leave, having, a cash for keys type of a situation might be beneficial for them to be able to now have, let's say if they didn't put a deposit down, or maybe they did put a deposit, but they're leaving in the middle, the deposit, there's certain stipulations, they can now request for those cash or those monies to be able to get them into another property and to be able to vacate right? So depending on the situation, I think that it could be a smart business move.
Oh gosh.
She has to breathe for this one.
I know. I'm like, let me just take a moment. Listen, I thought we were cool. So no, I disagree with that. You know what? I don't think I don't want tenants to think that they have that upper hand on a landlord. Like, a landlord has opened up their home to let you into, on a contract, whether it's a year and like it's month to month after that, and they're giving you that ability to live in this comfort of their home, and they're still paying the property taxes on that, right? They're paying, some of them are even paying utilities on that. You just have that flat fee, right? So I definitely think that, again, it's all about communication. So if a tenant were to come and, like, I'm just going to give you a hypothetical situation. If, let's just say a tenant came to me and they said, hey, Falesha, I'm thinking of leaving, I need a bigger space. Your place was great, but I need to move on, right? And I'm like, okay, cool, no problem. The perfect scenario is I don't have to pay anything for them to leave. They're going to live out their last month and they're on their way to the next chapter of their life. Wonderful. We're still good. You can connect with me if I need to send you a reference. And that's their substance there. If you need references, you want to be good with your landlord, right? Exactly. But let's just say we have somebody who's in financial hardship and they're like, I need to move, but I don't really have the money to do all of that. I need moving costs. Like, there's just too much going on. And what I was paying you, I've been living in your home for half a decade, and these new rent rolls are crazy, right? Rent prices rather are crazy. So now we can talk. Everything is negotiable, right? Okay, how much is this new property that you're interested in? I'm going to give them a good reference as your landlord, letting them know you've been here for X amount of years. Okay, this is your rent. Maybe it's going to be $3,000 because you wanted to get a bigger space. This is like a whole house now, right? Okay, I'm going to help you out with maybe 2 months. Let's start there. That's $6,000. Right? And they're like, oh no, but how about like the moving costs? Can you help with that? Like, whatever. Everything is negotiable is what I'm saying. So it doesn't have to be these inflated amounts where you're seeing people like, tenants are coming to them with a ridiculous amount, like, oh, give me $30,000. How am I giving you $30,000 when you were paying me like $1,000 for rent? How does it even make any sense? Justify that. Don't make a business out of me. I'm a human being trying to survive in Ontario too, right? So I think when it's all said and done, communication. Stop trying to rip off landlords. We are just human beings. And tenants, like, really just come correct. If you have a strategy of something that you're looking at and you have the moving costs and you can put everything together, pitch it to the landlord. Make it make sense for a landlord to say, yes, approved, let me give you the check. Versus you come up with something that you pulled out of the sky and you're hoping for a windfall. That's why landlords get strapped up. Go get a solicitor.
Would you rather lose months of rental income fighting for eviction cases, or would you offer a tenant money to leave, and why? So you're in a landlord perspective right now.
Yes. So as a landlord, I would rather to pay them to leave, because the sooner they leave, the sooner I can get someone else in there. But again, when I hear about the inflated amounts, as Falesha just mentioned, in terms of the 10s, 20s, and 30,000s, I think that is ridiculous amount. I think more realistic, 1 or 2 months of new rent payments. I think that's more realistic. I would even say half a month, right? I would negotiate less than that. But I definitely do think that, in terms of getting someone in there sooner, it would be better to, give them a little something as a parting gift, so to speak, to be able to say, I wish you all the best. Here you go, and then get someone else in sooner.
Okay.
I think I would do a mix of both, actually, because I like to be creative in my business affairs. So what I would do is I would actually serve them an N12, letting them know who's moving into the home and why. Maybe if it's not the N12 form, you can go Google all these landlord and tenant forms, by the way. So if it's not the N12, you're probably going to be serving them the N11. And I would get that rapidly registered. So I would make that application and file it with the LTB so that can start to take effect. But at the same time, I would start negotiating with them, because one of the two, whatever comes sooner, is the one I'm going to act on. So it's either the landlord and tenant board is going to give me a date that, we have to appear in the tribunal, and like we actually have a court date set. And if that is really, really far out, I still have my plan B. I've negotiated a price with them, right? So maybe this month they don't accept my offer, but then next month I'm going to give them another offer and let's see where we're at. Now, am I going to go crazy and get up to some crazy amount of numbers? Probably not. I'm going to have to really think about how I'm going to carry this out. And this all goes down to, the strategy that you're going to implement. What are you going to really do, right? Like what kind of thick skin as a landlord? It's going to really show this tenacious person in you as a landlord, right? As I said, I think landlords have really developed over the course of the past 3 years in terms of just being their backs being up against the wall because where tenants have placed them. So they've realized that they have brought out these characteristics that they didn't even know was there.
Yes.
But in a sense, like I always say, nothing really happens to us, it happens for us. So a lot of this, a lot of landlords have now learned how to go about it. It's a school of hard knocks in a sense right now because some people didn't ever think that they were going to be in a position like this, but now they've learned from it. So I would definitely mix the two.
What financial lessons can landlords learn from these situations to protect themselves in the future?
I think that cash flow is really important, I think, in terms of lesson. Also looking at whether or not if whatever property that they're investing in, if they can manage it on their own without having a tenant in there, I think that's also a good strategy. When you're applying for credit, you have to look at your debt to income ratio and all of those things, right? So I think you have to look at your cash flow to expense ratio, right? In terms of what you have coming in on your own and what you have going out. And if you can manage both properties or however many properties you have without having a tenant there for X amount of months, 6 months, maybe 8 months, then you can say, okay, you can start to look at having something that at least you wouldn't have to be in a financial burden or financial stress. So it's something happening, you don't immediately have cash flows coming in. I think that's a great strategy to use.
So that's on the topic of cash versus keys. I think that was a very interesting topic.
Yes.
Got a little heated every now and then.
But it's great to hear perspectives of both and why people are for tenant and for landlords, for sure. Now, I just have a bit of questions about small landlords versus the larger corporations and who has it harder, right? Because I think a big thing is that tenants sometimes think these small landlords, they have in their mind that those small landlords are large corporations and they're making X amount of money and they can handle this. But realistically, they're just a small landlord trying to just survive,
portfolio.
right? Build their portfolio. So my first question is, do you think small landlords are being pushed out of the market unfairly due to the strict policies?
Yes.
Really, Morlan?
Yes.
Because you were pro-tenant there a second ago.
Well, this topic is a little different. Right?
Oh, really? Let me hear about it.
When it comes to big corporations and small landlords, I'm definitely going to be siding on the side of small landlords.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. Because throughout history, we know that big corporations come in and they just, amalgamate everything. They take everything. They just build this monopoly and, leave the smaller guys to fend for themselves, so to speak.
Right.
And that not only does that happen in the financial sector, but it happens in many different facets of our lives in society. Right. And so when it comes to that, I think that is very important for, at the end of the day, everyone wants to have an opportunity to build generational wealth, to be able to build something that they can leave as a legacy for their family. Right. And so small landlords, that's all they're trying to do, from what I can understand. Put myself in their shoes, I'd be looking to build myself, build my family's, financial futures, build up the generational wealth opportunities that can be passed on as a legacy. And so I think that is very important for them to have a voice, to be able to then, have that representation.
But then how do you even differentiate who's a big landlord versus a small landlord? Like, it's not like it's going to say on the application, like, oh, I'm a big landlord, right? Because, let me give you a perspective. There's 4 of us here right now, right? And you guys know I'm really all about, building businesses, helping people break generational curses, building wealth. Now, let's just say we want to climb the ladder. We want to do better as a community. And we say, you know what, guys? It's so hard right now in Ontario. Let's pool our money together and open a corporation and go buy, 3 properties and rent them back out. Does that make us, big corporations? We just starting.
Yeah, we just started.
Not at all.
We're just starting, right? So we're just trying to get ahead, and we're trying to really do it for our community and break these curses and build this wealth. Yes. This is exactly what we're rooting for so much, and I love the fact that our community right now is like doing what they're doing. I love it, right? You know, Atlanta's doing amazing right now. Now you see Ontarians doing amazing within our community. So you can't really differentiate, you know, somebody who's a big landlord versus someone who is small, unless you're looking and you're taking it for what it is. When, you know, you go on MLS and then you can see like who the landlord, their name, it might say a numbered company, or it might just say the person's name. But you really still can't differentiate, because that might be the landlord's first property that they're actually renting out under their corporation.
Right.
So I think respect overall, round table across the board, needs to be, because you just don't know who you're dealing with. And even if it is a corporation, maybe that corporation is suffering. You don't know. Maybe they're underwater. Like, you don't know. People are just trying to live, you know, and you can't knock the people who are, you know, they're doing what they're doing and they're making a profit and all that. Like, if we're talking about blockchain, and I don't want to get too intricate and too far, but something like that where they own and their whole goal is to like buy up all of these properties to then rent it back to Americans and Canadians and people worldwide because they want everyone to be renters. Yeah, that's different. But for the average person just trying to make it and keep up with the game, I mean, it's hard to say who is a big one and who's a small one.
Yeah.
And lots of these situations we're talking about are smaller landlords that are dealing with it.
Sorry, I said blockchain, BlackRock.
BlackRock.
Sorry,
Yes.
BlackRock.
Yeah.
So BlackRock is the one who's going all about right now, and they're doing their thing, buying up all these properties, and they're trying to just rent it back to the average, you know, person, trying to make a profit.
That's who I would classify as a large corporation.
BlackRock, yes.
Right? Because they're the ones that have access to capital, they have access to cash flow.
Exactly.
They can manage and mitigate those risks, right? But as Falesha mentioned, sometimes, you know, we have a small landlord, so to speak, who is renting or who owns the property under a corporation because they're building up their business, right? So to be able to have the name recognition, I think that would differentiate it. Once you have the name recognition there, then you can say, okay, you know, because I know large corporations, they may not have it as hard as we have it.
Of course.
Right? I mean, to each their own. At different levels, hard is based on relative situation, right? It's relative. So I think it's really important that we have that differentiation and that discernment.
Yeah.
And that being said, who do you think gets more protection when it comes to laws? Is it the small business owners or the corporate?
I would say the large corporate.
Yeah?
Yeah, I would say that, because if they're putting more money back into the economy, so to speak, then government and lobbyists, I think they probably would go with, you know, with them. Right?
So you think the laws protect them more than the smaller ones?
So.
Yeah?
I don't think so. I think it's about who you know. Who do you know? Who got your back? That's what I'm saying. You need to make sure your team is tight.
And
if you guys are wanting to grow,
Yeah.
you need to make sure you have these things. Don't be just jumping in the trenches by yourself.
Yes.
You know, like you wouldn't go and do like an active sport without a helmet and knee pads and stuff, right? Like I'm definitely not going on ice skating without my knee pads and helmet. I can't even really skate. So you know what I mean? Like you need to think like that in business. So at the end of the day, the law is the law. The law is there, right? It's supposed to be there to help protect us and all that stuff. But unfortunately, sometimes it's not just. It doesn't go in our favor. It doesn't go the way we want. You can always, you know, challenge something that has already been like maybe ruled against you as a landlord. You can always take things to, you know, a higher court, right? If you need to go to divisional court, Supreme Court, whatever, right? But at the end of the day, just make sure that you're building the right relationship so that you are protected when things hit the fan.
And question for that. If small landlords continue selling their properties due to tough regulations, do you think that will help or hurt renters?
You know, with the influx of individuals that have immigrated to Canada, I think there's definitely a need for shelter, right? And so I think that, you know, whatever is going to create more opportunity for people to have places to live and to be able to, you know, live out their life with the standard of living that they are here to achieve and to have for their families, I think that is important.
I think landlords have to do what they got to do because each person has their own individual situation. Is it going to help a renter? I think renters are always going to have opportunities. There's tons of, you know, there's places to live here. It's all about, at the end of the day, you getting approved for it. So you need to, as an individual, make sure you look good on paper. right? There's people that want to have you as a tenant, right? It's like we have tons of places. The city is growing. We have a lot of developers making a bunch of properties. They're empty. We need you. We need you to live in here, right? But you need to present yourself in a way and work on yourself and make sure that things check out so that you can be approved. Now, a landlord's going to do, as I said, if they had a bad experience, and a lot of them they have that PTSD, they're probably thinking now, you know what, let me just sell my property and go buy international. That's why we're busy as international realtors. We're very rare, right? We're rare, right? Yeah. Another thing is Airbnb. Airbnb is not the easiest right now. You're paying 6% per year or 6% per quarter rather on your income. You have to get this permit. Some counties don't even allow you to have an Airbnb permit, right? So I just think like people are doing whatever they need to do for their own individual situation. And I don't think, to answer your question, it's going to really hurt tenants. I think tenants just need to know what they need to look like on paper in order to be attractive to landlords, because the landlords are looking for the right ones to help out and not leave these places vacant. Hey, we're paying vacancy taxes now, right? Olivia Trump is doing her thing out there, raising property taxes, raising all these taxes. Like, it's insane. So I think, just position, tenants, I'm going to talk to you, just position yourself in the right way to look good on paper, because landlords want you and they don't want the crazy ones that are going to, drive us through the wall and bring out the beast in us. They just want you to pay, the mortgage on time, be responsible, be respectful, live your life. And you can have a really good relationship. I've had really great relationships with my tenants in the past. Yeah. Christmas time, it would be great to feel like buying you something because I love you, right? And that's how it should be. It shouldn't be like, oh my God, like here I go, I got to deal with this person. What is that? Who wants to live like that? No animosity needed, right? So, yeah.
With the rising cost and tighter regulations, is rental property still a good investment for small landlords? Or is the financial risk too high?
I think that's depending on where the property is located. I think that's going to be a big factor, because we know that in the city it's going to be a lot more inflated in terms of the costs and the carrying costs monthly and all of that. So outside of the city, it's probably going to become, and it has become, more attractive for individuals that are willing to live outside of the city.
Yeah, but are the jobs in the city, or are they in the?
I think that individuals that work remotely.
So we're talking like that specific group right now,
right? And some individuals are willing to travel, right? Some individuals don't mind driving. Like, I have family member that's way out in Milton or further south from there, Windsor area, and they commute to like Brampton or other areas for work. So, an hour and a half, 2 hour drive, some people like being on the road. Maybe not necessarily in the last couple of weeks, but with all the snow that fell. But I think that, it's relative, really. If a landlord can find a property that is within a good location, good property value, and they can still rent it out in a way that still allows for them to still get some cash flow out of it, rather than being directly in the heart of the city, if they don't have that cash flow, then it might be better for them.
She doesn't agree with you.
Hey, that's what we're here for, right? Let's hear it.
That laugh was like, okay, let me jump in here right now.
I'm learning.
Oh my gosh, too high. It is too high for landlords. Look, there was like, and maybe I'm a little bit biased, because my mission is to get Canadians to a point where I can make you a snowbird. That is my passion. I want to take you somewhere.
I'm for you on that one.
Right? Like that is second. That right? Like that is, I live and breathe this, guys, every single day. Like I work tirelessly. I travel this globe. I'm in the air so much, and it's not really about me. It's about you. It's about me allowing this gateway and being able to say, hey, like you've always dreamt about being out of Canada for 6 months of the year. Let's make that happen. Now we've come to a point where you buy a rental property, even if it's a 1-bedroom condo, you're not making real cash flow on it. I know this, right? Like even if you're making $100 or $200, that's not real cash flow, right? So I'm talking about international properties. I think this is literally where it's at. I think a lot of people are just scared because they don't have the knowledge, but we're here to be, that support. My team and I can help you get there, build a plan. The only thing that I'm thinking in Ontario, when I can be frank, if what's making money is let's just say you have like an apartment in the basement, right? And you're living on the top floor. Maybe your mortgage is going to be something like, I don't know, with the new rates right now, you're probably paying up $4,200 for a little bungalow, to be honest. Like that's like what it is, right? If you're renting out the basement and you know 2 bedrooms are going for about $2,200 to $2,400 right now, then that's where I'm seeing you might be able to make a little bit more of a cash flow per month. But if you have a condo, like you're breaking even or you're in the negative,
100%,
right?
yeah.
Even like if you are renting out the entire house, you're probably just breaking even because on an entire house right now with the rates, and mind you, the mortgage amortization, they're only extending up to like 25 years, and that's you asking them, right? So your mortgage is going to be high. So for you to understand how you're going to be making money, I think you really need to think outside the box and stop being so just secluded to Ontario. A lot of people feel like they kind of spread their wings because they're going like to Northumberland County, which is like Cobourg area, going to Belleville, Prince Edward County. If they're going east, if you're going west, you might be going to like Windsor, Waterloo, those places. But at the end of the day, the amount of money that's coming in for income, right, versus what you're paying the expenses, it's not at the margins aren't there like they used to be. They're not there. It doesn't matter where you go in Ontario, they're not. So jump on a plane, come with us to a real estate retreat, come and see and touch and feel some properties that you can actually afford that are going to be like within your budget. You know, you can get something for $100,000, $200,000 and make $5,000 a month renting it out.
Really nice.
Right.
Right? It's not basic properties.
Yeah. So come to the Caribbean right now. You know, we have that open. We have stuff going on in Philippines. We have Spain, we have, you know, Dubai, you know, people might not want to go as far, but there's opportunities, ladies and gentlemen, and just, you know, get the knowledge so that you can just change your life instead of living in misery, which I know a lot of people right now are living
And you
in.
make so much more money outside the country.
Goodness.
You do.
Yes.
You do.
And you get a vacation spot, right? How awesome would it be to be like, you know what, I actually have a home somewhere. And furthermore, let me just dive a little bit deeper on this. If you're scared and you just want to kind of wet your tip of your toe, rent the property. For example, rent the property in Jamaica instead of like owning it and run an actual short-term arbitrage business. You can get something that's going to be equivalent, like, what is it, like 35, it sounds scary, but it's like 12 million, 35 million JA, so Jamaican dollars. It's going to be like $1,200 a month on an actual full house to rent out on Airbnb. Isn't that crazy? And you can, and these are places in Mobay. These are places in like prime locations. And even if it's not Jamaica, let's just say, and it's a different island, same thing. You can get full houses right now for like 800 Canadian dollars a month. And bring in $5,000 a month, right? So to answer your question and bring it back to Ontario, yes, I think the cost is too high for landlords to actually make a profit.
And I agree with you.
I agree. 100%.
That's exactly why I think we're on the same vision, being international realtors, where the market's elsewhere. And it's just knowledge, education, understanding that there are other places but Ontario. And that's where traveling, broadening your mind, that's where it gets you, because once you travel and you see the world, you're like, I want a part of this.
Exactly.
Right? So,
and don't be scared. And I feel, you know what, I honestly, and I'm not a conspiracy theory or anything, but I just gotta throw this out there. I know a lot of people right now are like, but I don't want to go on a plane. I'm scared of flying. You know, all of these you know, the recent amount of like plane crashes and all that. That's been like insane since January.
Even Toronto right here.
I think it's upward of like 65 or 85 like plane crashes since the beginning of the year. And right now, us filming this, we're in what? We're in like the ending of the month, February. It's crazy, right? So it's like one of those things where I want you to understand that these things have been happening, okay? But it's that psychological thing of like, you know, if you drive a certain car and you start seeing it everywhere, it's that same thing that's happening right now. Don't be scared with all this propaganda that's happening in front of you, because I feel like they're just trying to keep you in one place. Canadians, just stay in Canada. Don't leave.
That's exactly what's happening.
You know, because guess what? If we have the knowledge,
they put the fear
in your mind, right?
And then people believe it, and they're just like, no, I'm
not going nowhere.
I'm not going anywhere.
Right, and that's what they're doing, right? So I don't think, look, knowledge isn't power. Knowledge is potential power. If you don't take massive action, you're not going to get to where you want to be. So don't be scared of jumping on a plane. Just ask God simply when you're on that plane. Just be prayed up. God, please cover this plane until I get to where I got to go. You know what I mean? And that's it. And just expand your horizons. All I'm asking you, take a flight and get out there and see what properties are at your fingertips that you can own.
100%.
I definitely.
Great
answer.
Because we're all on the same page.
I love that. So the last segment here is just potential reforms and finding a fair solution, right? So my question to you is, if you could change one thing about landlord-tenant laws today, what would it be?
Well, I know what mine would be, but you go.
I'm gonna let you have this one first.
He's back to ladies first.
That's the way we started. That's where we'll end it.
I like that.
That's a good one.
Oh my gosh. So I think that it would have to be changed that if you say you're out in 60 days, you are out in 60 days, or the sheriff is coming and pulling you out. Period. You know, it has to be something hard. It has to be, and maybe, you know, like there's gonna be maybe they can create something where it's like, and our taxes might be raised if I actually give you this kind of idea, but maybe there's like a place where it's like not like a shelter, but somewhere like in the interim period, like if you really, really had nowhere to go, you have this like opportunity to stay here until you can get somewhere, like a middle ground. But don't put the landlords in a deficit. You know, so like hypothetically, let's just say, okay, you gave your landlord 60 days, you're going to be out at the ending of March, right? March comes, you're like, Mr. and Miss Landlord, I have nowhere to go. I can't leave, right? And that's what we're hearing, right? Mm-hmm. But the sheriff is going to come out and pull you out. And most of the times, those people are just homeless. Like they're literally pull them out, change the locks, and that's it. But where does a tenant go? See, I do have love for tenants. Yes. Because what I'm thinking is that we can have that middle ground where it's like, okay, we're going to put you in like this hotel or whatever, like the city will pay for it for like a month until you can find something, like they're helping you. But then there's like an actual end, like, okay, you really need to be on your toes now, figure it out. You know, like it has to be something like that. But I hate seeing landlords. It's always at the expense of the landlords. It's always the landlords that are always at fault. And that's not really fair. It's not.
So you believe in throwing the ball in their court and taking it out of the landlord's court?
The city?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. You guys are coming for us with taxes and making all this and that, whatever. Like work, like do something. What do you guys really do? Look, there's a lot of people that work for the government. They work for the feds. They work for, you know, the city. And I know a lot of them are twiddling their fingers right now at lunch, just chilling, walking slow. Why walking slow? Hurry up. Do it quicker. How many of them are making 6-figure salaries, and what is happening?
Nothing.
So figure out something. This is a crisis that we're dealing with. You guys need to figure it out, but stop making landlords look like we're crazy. So let's come to an agreement. Let's help the tenants at the same time, but also keep in mind that landlords, like the realization and the realistic approach to it is like, these people need to be out.
Yes.
Tenants need to be out, period. 60 days, get out, and then you can get into this like hub. I don't know what you want to call it, but like, you know, you have this like, you're just chilling for a bit until you get your place.
Yes,
I don't know.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah! I told you by this time he was going to be on our side.
I knew it was going to happen.
He's on our side. See? On my side.
Wow.
All right.
That was, oh my God, give me 5.
Yeah.
We got another person that was tenant back to the landlord. Yeah.
It's just being fair, right?
Yeah.
We're just trying to be fair, be
Yeah.
realistic, right? We're wrecking our brains here trying to figure out what can we do to just help our economy and help. We just want to be good humans. That's literally it, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, as you guys heard today, that was the landlord dilemma. I think we learned a lot here.
Oh, we did.
And we got to hear 2 perspectives, and it was a great conversation. All right. And anything that you guys want to say before we end the podcast today?
I love what you're doing. You're both amazing forces, resilient women that are so beautiful, and our community definitely needs more of you.
Thank you.
Love you back.
Oh, yeah.
And I just want to give you a little gift here.
Aww.
From us to you.
Thank you.
You can
so
open it up.
Well,
So I've given you, a book for one of you each.
This is beautiful.
That is in regard, it's, money for your real estate investment. So give you some knowledge there. And then from my makeup line, I've given you both some makeup there. Hopefully you like the colors. Open it up.
So everyone go out and get her book.
Yes,
Yep.
it's called Get the Most Money for Your Real Estate Investments.
Yeah. So you can, connect with me. I'd love to pour into you if you're an investor or you're, wanting to get into real estate and all that jazz. But I hope you enjoy it, and I love you both.
Boy, we love you too.
May God bless your journey.
And her makeup line.
Right? FR, Falesha Racquel Beauty.
FR Beauty.
Thank you
We
so
appreciate
much.
it.
We appreciate that. Well,
Thank you
guys,
so
that
much.
is the end of our podcast. Thank you for watching the Ray Team podcast, and see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Rating can sell your house. I'll put you in the right house. Rating. Rating.